nothing's changed. Back with you a little quicker than I anticipated. The pressers at the moment kind of seem to be up and down. They probably are on the website, but I kind of just didn't take the time to check really. So I wanted to come on fresh from the press conference, looking at it. I've got the notes in front of me as well. So look, I fantastic show early afternoon. So I thought, look, I would come back as soon as I sort of knew the presser stuff. So I think it's Ruben's pressers right now verge on the ridiculousness. All the way through to I don't even know. This press conference was no different to me. Basically the same old stuff. There's some interesting things as well, which I keep saying this. No wonder this fan base is in a spin. You got some saying this morning, me just saying that we're not going to sign players. Then we are going to sign players. We've had people talking about Anderson, Baleba, Xerxes as well. Even I've mentioned that as well. I still believe that Xerxes will possibly go. But Amorim, as I spoke about it himself, Wavecutter says we need to urgently bring Ramos in as cover. And again, guys, like getting your opinions on that as well. Getting your opinions about players that you'd want to bring into the side. I'm just gonna have to move this light out the way for a second. That's better. So look, the first thing to say, as I always do on this channel, is get into this amazing community. This light behind me is too bright. Let's do my head in as well. Better. So yeah, get into this amazing community. Absolutely fantastic show early this afternoon as well, so I can only thank you for that as well. If you missed the show, go back and watch it, because it is fantastic. Johnny Hill, the presser, disgusted me, by the way Amorim was speaking. He just sounded like a mouthpiece for the owners. Look, Johnny, we will get into that as well, Johnny, because I share your opinion on it. I'm not gonna jump and scream. Johnny, I find it very, very hard. I'm beginning to dislike Amorim the more and more he speaks. Tulip plays it. Hey JB, hey Tulip. I hope you're doing extremely well. Tulip, legend of the chat. Same as Johnny and Wavecutter as well. So first thing to say is get into this amazing community. I'll always say this is the best community on this platform. We may not be the biggest, we're certainly not the smallest, but we are the best. Only thing I will say is get into this community. Just be respectful to the community, be respectful to yourselves, be respectful to me. Otherwise the ban hammer comes out and you will get banned. We don't care. We don't care if you're banter, as long as it's all done in a respectful way. Got no issue at all. If you're from a rival team, just get into the chat as well. We genuinely don't mind rival fans in here. So if you've been kicked off other channels because you support a different club, then that's their loss. It's our gain. So get into this amazing community. The second thing is, look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your comments. This is why these shows take so blinking long, is because I generally do give you opinions and I do read out the chat. So we spoke about transfers this morning. I'm not going to go back into it, as I did say on the show. Not going to go into it. We will get onto the transfer bit within the conference as well, because Amorim has basically said that as well, and he's been saying what I've been saying for the longest time on here as well. So look, it's nice in some respects right now. The information that I get, the things that I think as well, but the interesting thing is that when this transfer window ends, I'll be a little bit more open, because I'm not going to say too much, but I get things. I know people, and look, I say things because that's the stuff that I get told. I'm not going to say too much more on that. So let's get into the press conference. Johnny Hill, I do agree with you. Wonky Donkey says when they asked him if he wanted signings to push on top 4, he basically said no, we might finish 14th. Anyway, it was quite funny what happened with West Ham and Stratford FC. So let's get into the conference. I'm not going to try and make this video too long. Obviously, depends on it's driven by you guys. But look, let's get into it first. So basically, Amorim was asked, in terms of the squad, are there going to be any players back? Are there any more issues? Amorim said, we are going. There are no more issues, no more different issues. We're going to see tomorrow. Have one more training. I don't think so. They're going to be anyone who will recover. So let's see. So basically what he's saying here is Bruno Fernandes is out. Kobe Mainoo is not coming back. The players that are out injured are injured. They're out. So there's going to be no players. So basically expect the same team. Respect the fact that these players are not back. Mason Mount again, he's I don't know with Mason Mount. He's basically saying here that there are no issues, no different issues. I don't know if that applies to Mason Mount. Look, Mason Mount comes into the squad, great. If not, I don't class him as a not a first team player, but I think Mason Mount is one of these players for me that, well, if you count him into the squad, let's see. It was then said the players like Harry and Bruno will be a huge boost for a place like Ellen Road. I'm guessing you've not experienced it before in any way, and what are you expecting? Amorim said, I've heard that is an epic derby, a great environment, a rivalry, but every game in the Premiership is tough for us. I agree with that. I don't know whether it's his words, but I want you to bear that in mind for a second. When he basically then says, it means a lot to the fans, but we need to go in there. Like, he basically said the Premier League is tough for us. Now, I think that's an interesting one there. It could just be the language that he uses, but I think that's a interesting point. But look, Amorim right now is full of, he contradicts himself all of the time. And I think, as Johnny Hill says there at the very start of it, is that Amorim is becoming the mouthpiece of the Glazers. Amorim is becoming the mouthpiece of this club. I genuinely think he's starting to buy into it. Genuinely think he's starting to toe the party line. He then went on. So then it was then asked, great. So then it was then said, bigger picture-wise, when you look at where the team is, where the club were post-Europa League final, so months on, to be 6 points, 3 points behind top 4. So again, we're getting the rhetoric of this top 4. Now again, I think the most frustrating part for me here is this top 4 talk won't stop. Now I get it. Chelsea are in flux. Chelsea are in a mess, and factually, from a factual point of view, United are points away from 4th. Now, the media is driving the narrative of 4th position. Now, are they driving the narrative? And this is a question that I'm asking here, is that, are they driving the narrative on the basis that if United get 4th, if they don't get 4th, they can use that as a stick to beat them with? Because what's been really apparent to me over the last press conferences, in terms of the last 2 or 3, the media's actually been relatively positive. And what I mean is, Danny says, likes appreciated. Exactly, Danny, welcome, and you're a legend of the chat. The media haven't been on his case as much. They were talking about Kobe Manu. There was a presser where they kept banging on about the Kobe Manu thing. I also think the media have been told to toe the party line. I think even the media has backed off, because don't forget, United can ban the media. There is no requirement for the media to be allowed. There is no requirement. There is no it is not their right to be in there. So I genuinely think the media have been told to ease up, because some of these questions and some of the rhetoric coming out is, I don't know whether it's the stick they're going to use to beat him with, but pushing this top four, I think right now is a very, very naive position, and I generally think that is, and to be fair to Amorim, he has lowered down, he has gone back on that, but I just think the media question there, not necessarily Amorim, but the media question there for me, I think is a rhetoric that I don't understand what it is they're trying to do right now. If Delos Shaw are still here this summer, it doesn't matter what the manager we have. And Danny, I think they are going to be here. I am adamant. Luke Shaw is still going to be here. It wouldn't even surprise me if they give Luke Shaw an extension on his contract. Dalot is still going to be here as well. Regardless of players, Amorim is too cowardly to be a United manager. I've tried to back him. Danny, I don't disagree, mate. The conferences, look, I will hark back to this. I will go back to this and say this. The last press conference, I've been losing respect for Amorim over the last couple of weeks. It gets eroded game by game, but not eroded big chunks of it, right? The last press conference where he's gushing over Fernandes, pathetic, right? This press conference is one of those ones where it's not a personable issue from him that I've got the problem with. It is the rhetoric that he's now pushing. He's doing a Ten Hag, he's doing an Ollie, and look, whether or not people think that's right, for me personally, I find that a very, very tough pill to swallow. What do you think of Enzo Maresco walking out? Said Stephen, respect, absolute respect to him. Respect, Chelsea will spin it as they sacked him. No, Maresca was looking for jobs. They let him go because Maresca didn't want to be there. Maresca thought he wasn't going to be back. Utmost respect. I respect anybody that is in a situation that they are not happy with. Maresca proves for me what is wrong with Amorim. I think Maresca for me basically makes Amorim look bad. It shows that Maresca's got a pair of bollocks. It shows Maresca's got more pride in himself. Whereas you've got Ruben, who is sitting there today, last week, talking about how Bruno Fernandes is brilliant. What a captain he is. Oh, he's so great. And Maresca's just like, this is a bag of shit. Looking for jobs and leaving the club. Like, he's been paid off, probably a bit, but Maresca's just gone, this is just not worth my time and effort. And for me, it just goes to highlight how weak Amorim is. Harif says, would Goldbridge be a good fit if Amorim goes? Harif, look, mate, I'm not going to answer the question because I think it's a very, very silly question to ask. I don't know what you want me to say on it. I'm not getting into this gold bridge debate stuff because it basically gives him look. If you think it, great. If not, I've got no time for it. Danny says Leeds adapted to a 3-5-2 in a week, and we are playing it well consistently past 4 to 5 weeks in our squad. Still haven't adapted or learnt the system after a year. No transfers in the January window. Nikarutsu legend, nope. Look, and we have to go with what Amorim said, and I will come on to that as well. Nope, my friend. Johnny says, to be honest, seeing the way Amorim spun the whole the transfer talk to protect the owners highly acts like to me why they are keeping him. Good point. The Primet says I was Amorim out last summer. And look, and I think Johnny makes a good point. I think he's a mouthpiece now for the Glazers. I do. And I'll give you my thoughts and opinions as well on that. But look, I think those of us who are wondering why he's not getting sacked, that's not me, by the way, but many of you are asking for his sack. I've been manager in. I'm on the fence with this particular manager. I want a manager to get time. He's basically Gareth Southgate. I moaned and I whinged about Southgate coming in. I said if this guy gets sacked because Southgate will get you turgid, boring, middle of the road, mid-table Europa League, Europa Conference League every season. It's Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim has turned into Southgate. Look, before today, and again, I've just thought about this, and I've literally just had an epiphany, and I don't think anybody's spoken about this on this channel yet. It's just come into my head. Amorim is Southgate. Amorim is the Portuguese Southgate. I'm not saying long term he is, but right now, Amorim is Southgate. He's towing the party line. The football is boring, turgid, defensive. He is defending the Glazers pretty much. He is defending these players. He's these players' coach. Amorim is Southgate. This should worry fans because he now furthers my worry that Ineos won't look to a top quality manager. They will look for someone that will be their mouthpiece. Can we bring Maresca? Nikarutsu? Maresca won't come. I don't think he's that stupid. Johnny, any top manager now will run away from our owners. Way more stubborn than Southgate, both cowardly. You're right, JB. The reason why I think he's going to toe the party line is because he's a Portuguese manager. And I think as people have said on here in the past, Liverpool. I don't know the truth, right? But apparently Liverpool turned him down. West Ham did as well. And I think he knows. Look, let's look at this from a logical perspective, right? Amorim knows that we've got players who are not going to be sold, right? I think Amorim knows this, and Amorim is not going, oh, friends, Portuguese for our friends, Bruno, friends, friends, friends. And that's what it is. I think he knows. I think he knows. And why is Amorim going to leave this club on his own term, on terms that are not his, when I think he knows, as long as he toes the party line and he gets 5th, 6th, I think he's going to be fine. Arthur says, hi, hello, Arthur. So let's get on to further parts of the press conference. So basically said the bigger picture, Europa League final to be six. To be sixth, 3 points off of the top four. Now he said the bigger picture. So they said like in the bigger picture, are you happy with the progress this team has made? He says, I think we are playing better. We have a full squad. Sorry, I think we're going to play better when we have a full squad. We are clearly a better attacking. We are not being good enough in the details. We should have more points in the moment, but of course we want more. And we should have again, I think we should have again more points. Amorim, piss off. Amorim, look, let's just look at what he said there. I think we are playing better when we have a full squad. I think we're a better attacking team. Agree with that. But then again, if you get two of the league's best attacking players, I would expect that. Again, we should have more points. No, you shouldn't, Amorim. He says that we are clearly better, but we are not good enough in the details. Amorim, what are you talking about? The details, what? Passing, drive, IQ, intensity. Like, you've got a captain that's shit. You've got a captain that couldn't lead a horse to water. There's no intensity. There's low IQ. Like, these are major details. You've got players that won't cross the ball. JB, you need a cuddle. Mate, I do need a cuddle because this coach is pissing me off. Like, the details, Ruben. Like, the details are huge. It's not just the odd little pass here and there. Your players can't cross a ball. Your players cannot defend. Your wing backs cannot defend. Luke Shaw is awful. You've got a captain who is not a captain. This team can't pass from side to side. The pivot, the fucking pivot, mate. The pivot. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who's not an 8. You're expecting him to be a midfielder. Casemiro on 34, whose legs are gone. The fucking details. What are you talking about? The details. It is not the details, Ruben. It is the whole squad. What are you talking about, Ruben? The details. It would mean you've played against, I don't know. You played against, I don't know, a Villa, right? Or you played against an Everton, right? And the details are you're having 50, 60 shots, and on that particular day, your players just like they couldn't score. You've been dominated by Wolves. What are the details with Wolves? Ruben, I am all ears. What are the details? It's not the details because those are small things. It is the whole squad. He talks about we play better when we have a full squad. I don't do things for clicks on here, right? I don't scream. Well done for thanks, Kevin. I don't do shouting and screaming on here. I'm not one of these people who's a shouty and screamy person. But this conference frustrates the hell out of me. Ruben, what are you talking about? Details. We are a better team when we have a full squad. Ruben, what are you talking about, mate? You've had one game a week for the whole season, and we've been terrible. Can I remind you, Ruben, Grimsby? What are the details against Grimsby? Against Fulham, against Everton, West Ham, you had a full squad of players who play one game a week. Forest, you have one game a week, Ruben. It is not the details. There is fundamental. These are fundamental things, not the details. And we do not play better when we have a full squad. I don't see a difference. So, Ruben, you were talking out of your arse. You were making yourself look like an idiot. And there's people like me who are still trying to back you, who are still trying to flog a dead horse. But, Ruben, you were talking out of your arse. and saying that we should have more points. What points should we have more of, Ruben? You've been absolutely terrible. We are where we are. Ruben, I want to see what you see. I want to see the data. I want to see football through your eyes, Ruben, because you have zero idea. You have zero idea. And if you think the details are the only thing that stops us, if you think playing one game a week with a full squad and you think that's the reason why we are where we are, Ruben, you are deluded. It was then said, Daniel Farquhar now are a very different team, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. How difficult is a game is going to be? They have a lot of pace. Ruben says they're confident, but okay, this bit for me. This bit for me. Okay, so Kevin says, all those games you've mentioned, was it Ruben's fault the keeper made mistakes or that we missed any chances? Kevin, my friend, I'm not arguing, Kevin. I'm not arguing about the play on the pitch. And look, I've said this many, many times. You can't blame Ruben for how these players play on the pitch. Ruben's formation and tactics, that's up for debate. You can't blame Ruben for these players who are low IQ, they can't pass, they can't do this. But when Ruben, look, what I'm saying here, Kevin, is that when Ruben is on here talking about the details, when Ruben is talking about they should have more points, I'm not blaming him for the things his player does. I'm blaming him for the things he says. The same as you can't blame Ruben for what his players do, you can't blame his players for what Ruben says. Like, you can't blame his players for what Ruben says. You can't blame Ruben for what his players do. Ruben doesn't have to say this, but he's talking out of his arse. He then says, and for me, look, whether you agree with me on this one, this for me is a comment that it just goes to show me how deluded he is, and I am on the brink. They are confident, but we proved that we can win any game in any situation in every context. Ruben, fuck off. You should be sacked on the spot for that shit. Because you're saying that we're confident we can prove that we can win any game in any situation in every context. Ruben, you've had 4 chances to get into the top 3. You've had multiple chances to get into the top 4. You blow it every time. You can beat any team. Grimsby, Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa. What are you talking about? You can win any game under any context in every situation. Ruben, you can't. Scott, you're missing my rant on the presser. Like, Ruben, you're saying they are confident, but we prove that we can win any game in any situation in every context. Ruben, I'm just gonna be really crass, and I'm just gonna say, Ruben, mate, you're a prick. Like, Ruben, you're this for me is the worst presser. What he's just said there, given the context of Wolves, right? What we just watched at Wolves, right? And you've said, word for word, we proved that we can win any game in any situation in every context. Ruben, get out, mate. Ruben, get out. Just subscribe, mate. Look, thank you, Mark. Ruben, get out. Like, Ruben, get out. Like, my brain can't deal with it. as I say, I'm not a sort of person to scream and shout, but the frustration in me right now, Ruben, Wolves was a disaster. You're getting booed off of the pitch, and you're saying that you can win any game, any situation, in every context. Ruben, you can't, you fucking moron. You can't. Wolves, Grimsby, Everton, Fulham. I mean, the list goes on. Bournemouth. Like, Ruben, you are now making yourself look like an idiot. What are you talking about? You cannot win any game. You cannot win in any situation or any context. Why didn't you beat Wolves? Wolves had 2 points and we've given them a point. What are you talking about, Ruben? Ruben, get out. I'm. Look, before I started the stream today, I was very much on the fence, but live on stream, Amorim, get out. Like live on stream, like I've been resisting this for the longest time, right? But reading this over again and going through this, Ruben Amorim saying they are confident we can prove that we can win any game in any situation in any context. Ruben, get out. Because I can't, Ruben. You are making yourself look like an idiot. So look, live on stream, I'm going to say, Ruben, get out. Ruben, go, mate. And I'm not going to change my mind. Ruben has to go. When you're sat there after the Wolves game and you're not calling your team out, Fresh says, mate, Goldbridge would punch you out. I've no doubt. I rate your opinions over his, though. Other that, Fresh, look, mate, you're never going to gold me, Fresh. You could be right, mate. You could be right. Fresh, all I'm going to say to you is you're not right. Look, I don't need to come on stream and start going, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z because there is no point. Look, mate. Goldbridge, look, bothered, mate, bothered. But look, all I'm going to say on this is, look, reading that again. I know I keep going over it, but look, after the Wolves game, to come on and talk and say that we're confident we can win any game under any situation in every context, Ruben, mate, I'm done, Ruben. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I don't need to keep screaming Ruben out. I'm done. I can't. I'm done. This for me is the comment that broke the camel's back. I'm done. I'm done because it's bollocks. Because he's talking. He is Glazers. He is Ineos. He is now towing the party line, and I'm done. I'm done. There is no fight. He is Southgate. He is a Portuguese fucking Southgate. He then says they have different players in the front. They can at last. They wrote two. Yeah, whatever. Basically, then asked Ruben in terms of the rivalry. You obviously I've seen it in Portugal. He then says it's basically a different culture, different noise. We've again different culture, different noise. We have got to perform. He then said, "Yeah, it's easy to do that when you're focusing on that because of the noise and the intensity. A crowd will be against us, but we've got to start the right team." He then says, when you play for United, you need to be ready for everything. And we have you guys, and you guys have the best league in the world. But every game now, and you see every week, there's draws. Ruben, mate, it's just excuses. Like, you do know the Wolves game is probably, other than the Grimsby game, our worst game of the season. You need to be calling these players out. You're not calling these players out, Ruben. And I'm not just talking about, Bruno Fernandes, right? I guarantee a lot of people, they'll be saying, oh, he's not played, right? The reason why we're in this position, Bruno Fernandes has played all season. Mbeumo has played all season. Cunha has been playing all season. De Ligt, I know he's been out. He's played. Luke Shaw's played every single game. De Ligt, for me, I think he's been our best player. But, I'm just saying that these players have played all season. Ruben, you're just, you are a mouthpiece. You keep talking about we need to be ready. Ruben, you're never ready. Literally every game is a reset. Every game is a reset. Why aren't you ready? Why weren't you ready for Villa? Why weren't you ready for the Newcastle game? You started off well. Why weren't you ready for the second half where you got bombarded? Where you got annihilated? Wolves. Why weren't you ready for Wolves at home? Again, question, Ruben, we're seeing Chelsea drop points this week, and it feels like your side halfway stays well with the chance of reaching the Champions League. Just the fact you're putting yourself in such a promising position change. Okay, just the fact you've put yourself in such a promising position, does that change your thinking this month in terms of the transfer window? Is it worth kind of pushing the amp up a bit to make sure you finish top 4 or top 5? Now, I want you to bear in mind, Ruben has said this already. Wilcox has said this already. Ornstein has said this already. Fabrizio, I said it already. I've been saying it consistently. The transfer window is not going to change. We have no conversation in this moment to have any changes in the squad. There is a process. There is an idea that is going to continue. Ruben, mate, Ruben, look, that it isn't your fault, Ruben, but you're towing the party line. Go. This is a mess, and I've been saying this all season. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, and once the window ends, I've been told on pretty good authority that behind the scenes there is nothing. There is lists going on. There is conversations going on. The trouble here is, and this is why, look, this is why I keep mentioning the Ineos thing. People don't realise the trouble that Sir Jim is in right now. Ineos are going under. There is no correlation between this window and what's going through with Ineos goes hand in hand. There's also the fact that we're run like a business. There's also the fact that we don't do business in this window. This is what I keep saying on here, and I keep saying I'll die on this hill, is that we will either do no signings or a cheap loan to buy a cheap loan signing. It's all there. It's been there all season. And this is why I will not enter into a debate of Anderson, Baleba, Wharton, etc. because the money isn't there. There's got no appetite. Sir Jim thinks that we can get into the Champions League with this squad. Ruben has just said it there himself. Ruben has said it. The transfer. Look, so when any other channel now, and I'm including all of the big channels who are going to keep spinning this bullshit about Baleba's going to come in, Anderson, where he's on the list, Wharton. Ruben says it there himself. Listen to Fabrizio. As a fan base, we pick and choose. We pick and choose to believe Fabrizio or an Ornstein, and we put them up there as goats to listen to them when they're talking positive stuff. When they then come out and start talking about we're not going to make the signings, that's not me saying it. That is the people that you and I and people and the bigger channels, they constantly quote these people. These are the people that have been saying for weeks, we have no intentions of making a signing unless something happens, right? But the fan base picks and chooses when this happened. Listen to Ruben. Ruben is saying here we're not going to make a change. We have no conversations in this moment to have any changes in the squad. There is a process. Trust in the process. Trust in the process. This idea is going to continue. It's Gareth Southgate. This is Gareth Southgate. He says we are near the Champions League, but we're also near for like 8 teams that are behind us. So let's focus on the next game. Our focus is to win. And look, I agree with that statement. I agree with him on that. They're near the Champions League places, but they're also near the 8 teams there. He then says, so given the hostile nature of the environment on Sunday, will your selection change at all? He basically said, of course, we will look at everything, but then to prepare, you can see the squad, it's impossible. We cannot stretch the players that we don't have. But of course, I will try to put a team that can cope with that, and I will try to read the game and try to understand what I should do. They have 2, if it's not the game in a hostile environment, but they need to be ready and they will need to experience that. But it's going to be hard for any player, even with the guys with a lot of experience. But again, we're ready to experience that. Last year was amazing by the sound of it. Ruben Amorim, again, he's talking. Look, for fan channels like mine and for somebody like me, right? We know what this team is, right? After the last 13 years, before that, you get complacent, you get like ahead of yourself. And the last 13 years has taught me, because I was very, very lucky to live in an era where I saw the best of us, right? And then you get arrogant, you get complacent. And then the last 13 years happen, and then you get more humble because you learn, right? This is the reason, in some respects, I respect different fans, because it's not the fans' fault, right? Now, I respect whether people like it or not, and they, will say, oh, like, how can you respect Leeds, or, I respect the fans. I respect Leeds because I know what we are right now. And you've got to respect that, right? But that's okay for fans. The fact that the manager of this club is talking, he basically talks about how we are having to play to Leeds. And I know that we're going away to Leeds, which is going to be a hostile crowd. It's going to get on these players' backs, but that is what you want to happen. He talks about pace. He shouldn't give a shit what Leeds are doing. He should, as a coach of this club, he should be bigging up his players. He should be just like, I know Leeds are good, but we are United. He should be beating down any chat that Leeds could do well, because this club demands it. Leeds are a historic club. Leeds won the old league. Leeds historically have been a great side. Now, Leeds in recent years, 2000, 2001, fantastic side. Got to the semi-final of Champions League. Recent years, haven't been good. It doesn't matter. I want a manager in this club who doesn't respect them. It's okay for me and us to respect it, but you're going into battle. You're going into a fight. Why are you respecting Leeds? This is a rival. How are you going to wind up your players to get them to play if you're basically saying we basically need to think about Leeds and we're going to tailor our game to Leeds? No. It was then asked about. I just want to make sure that I get this right. Okay. It was then asked if any players come knocking on your door and ask this month. So basically asking if Xerxes had knocked on his door this month and asked for a move, or anybody has asked, and he said no, no, no. I don't expect anybody to move. Basically, the press conference there. Like Wolves, which I think was probably the most disgusting performance of the season, and look, well done to Wolves. They got a point. They're going to go down as the worst Premier League team ever. I think there are circumstances with Wolves whereby I don't think it's fair. Factually, they will be based on points, but I think there are circumstances there. In my view, given the context of Wolves, given the context of what's happened with Wolves, given the context of what's happened up until this season, that for me was the straw that broke the camel's back. I want him gone. I think for me, the overall conference was basically like having a Southgate, towing the party line, basically capitulating. And I'm sorry, but for me, basically saying we are confident. We prove that we can win any game in any situation in every context. Ruben, I'm done, mate. I'm done, Ruben. I'm done, because I want a manager who isn't a Southgate. I want a manager who comes on and doesn't talk bollocks, and he's talking utter dog shit. Ruben, if you can beat anybody in any situation, in any context, the context has been this season. You have been in a position, because it's such a competitive league this season, you have had a chance to get into a top 3. You've had a chance to get into top 4 multiple times, and you've blown it. Grimsby, Everton, West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth. Those are contexts. Those are games. You had your full squad. You keep talking about when we get our players back. Ruben, you've had your fucking players all season, you absolute melt. You've had your players all season. You've played one game a week, and this is the dog shit that we've had all season. Forest. I mean, Spurs. This is... And any win you've had has been shit. Chelsea win. Sunderland was probably the only game that we deserved to win. The Brighton game, you tried to throw that away. The Newcastle game, we were absolutely shit in the second half. So, Ruben, I'm done, mate. I'm done, Ruben. I'm absolutely done. I don't see the point. I'm not going to scream and shout Ruben out, because I don't need to do that. But I'm not saying Ruben out. I'm saying get him out. I'm saying I personally am done. Back him or not, look, if you're going to back Ruben, then, and I'm talking here to the club, if you're going to back him, and maybe we can have a different chat. But right now we've got a Portuguese Southgate who's towing the party line, and this will tell you everything that you need to know. The reason why we are so dog shit is because Ruben Amorim thinks that this side can beat anybody under any situation, under any context. You're a fucking moron, Ruben. You are an absolute idiot. Bruno Fernandes. Look, Bruno Fernandes. The persistent and pursuing him as a number 8 is criminal. Despite whether I think Fernandes and look, I want these players out. I fucking despise these players. I absolutely cannot stand these players. This is not me giving a pass to the players. I've been slamming these players all season. The majority of these players are disgusting. Now, Ruben's turn. People may not care about my opinion. I can no longer get behind him. I've said as soon as I believe the manager is doing this for his own stubbornness and for his own rhetoric and cause over the club, I want him gone. Ruben, go. I'm done. I'm done, Ruben. I'm done. Let me get through some of these chats. It's so painful being a United supporter. Cannot even defend the results we're getting. I try and be optimistic, but nothing changes from what he was to what we are now. Sad. Fresh says, Gobrid would punch you up. I've no doubt. I rate your opinions though, other than on Luke Shaw. I love it, Fresh. Look, mate. Don't know, mate. Which manager do you think will succeed him? Look, Arthur, I don't know, mate. Look, I want him gone, but the fact that I want him now gone is, mate, it's fucked. Like, I don't know. I cannot tell you. Ruben is not going to go. I am. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The only thing that is true is I will remain a fan of this club. I will remain supporting this club. I am fan in. Look, there's no point anymore being a manager in, because what manager have we got that can do anything with this bunch of players? Fresh says, I'm only messing with you. Gobridge is a melt. Thanks, mate. Mark says his comment alone should be enough to sack him. He'll be gone if he doesn't get at least a Europa League. Glasner, Emery, or Howe. Herbie says, after him, I understand your feelings, but personally, I'm going to give him this season. Losing my mind with this club. I can't. And Herbie, look, mate. Look, people have their. And Herbie, look, mate. Do I want him gone? Yes, I do. Do I think we should give him to the end of the season? Yes. Because, look, I want Bruno Fernandes out. I want Bruno Fernandes gone. Doesn't mean I want Amorim to go now. Amorim should be given until the end of the season and then piss off. Like, there is... the problem for me now, and this is the biggest thing for me now. The reason why, whatever happens, I want him gone. I don't trust the manager. I don't trust the players. So look, the reason why I wanted these players gone is because I don't trust the players. I no longer trust the manager. He needs to go. I'm not saying he needs to go now. What I am saying is it is his time to go. And I think I would wait until the end of the season. Thanks, Ruben. And then go. He does the same thing every match. Other managers see right through his tactics. Cellophane FC. Don't trust Ineos. Jim is evil, just like the Glazers. I agree with you. We've got rubbish owners. That's why we fell. Football. Agree with you. Dorgu should be moved into centre midfield, says Glenn. Who's Anderson? Elliot. If we get Champions League, you will be. Yes, Grace. The reason why I would get him out is because I don't trust him. I don't trust him, Grace. And look, people can have and will have their opinions. I don't trust this manager. Let's have a little look. UTFT. He's gonna play 10 back on Sunday. Hello from Indonesia. More than you can afford. I doubt that, Mr. Hello, Mr. Yudi from South Africa. King says, Amorim is a fraudulent, stubborn Burke. Worst in the game I've seen. Can't wait till he goes. Ruben is a melt, a dislike his chat, and his management is gaslighting. The next manager will say the same. He will do. You generally look stressed today, but fair points all round. Ruben is moronic, baffling lineups, subs, and waffle in the press conference. But look, guys, I can have a rant. I'm not stressed. Even I at times, as logical and calm as I try to be, sometimes the passion creeps out. Right? I'm not stressed. I'm chilled, but Ruben says, no name calling JP. What can Ruben do? Is it the players that can perform up? Ruben, this is for me. This is the wrong coach with the wrong. Look, when you've got incompetence and we've got incompetent owners, we've got the Glazers, Ineos, who've hired incompetent football people. They've hired the wrong coach, and I think that is completely clear now. He's got no experience. He is weak. He's got favourites. His in-game tactics are appalling. I don't blame him for the players. The players are their own thing. Players and Amorim are two different things. You bring them together. Worst match. Grant says, hi. Hello, Grant. So Jonathan Ward says, what a shirt. Yes, I do. I love the shirt. Fantastic shirt. JB, you return on the next manager. The club have clearly told him he won't get signed. Grace, I won't. Look, will I turn on the next coach? Look, it takes me a while to turn. But Grace, look, I stuck through him through the Grimsby game. I stuck through him through the Everton game. The reason why, Grace, the reason why I want him gone is because Amorim is now a Glazer puppet. How can you... And people can have their own opinions. Right? I've been with this manager and I've backed him. After the Wolves game, which is probably one of the worst games I've seen ever, when you can sit there and tell me I can put up with the players, I can put up with tactics not being great. I fully appreciate he doesn't have his players, and I've been backing it all season. But what I cannot tolerate is when we're off the back of a run of games whereby I said we needed to win those, whereas it'd been abjectly awful, and you sit there and you tell me, Amorim, that you can win any game under any situation in any context, you've got to go, because you are so naive and you are so idiotic. I can't have somebody who is that idiotic and irresponsible being the manager in this club. I can't. I would much prefer him to come out and say Wolves was not acceptable. He didn't even apologise to the fans, Grace. He didn't even apologise to the fans. Even on behalf of the players, he didn't even come out and apologise. He didn't acknowledge the Wolves game. You're sat there after the worst Wolves, the worst performance I've seen, and you are sat there telling people on camera that you can win any game, any context, under any situation. It's negligence. It is beyond. He is a fantasist. He's a fantasist. And he's talking about margins. He's talking about little things. Mate, you've set up it in a pivot the whole season. It's not just the details. You can't win any games under any context in any, because if you did, you would. And Grace, that's why I want this manager gone at the end of the season, because he's incompetent. You can't come out and say that unless you're incompetent and unless you were so stubborn with this team that you think that you can turn this around, and then come out and basically say you need to trust the process. He's saying that you need to trust the process, and you're basically not going to sign any players, and you are okay with that, and to not apologise to the fans after Wolves. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Did you have a good New Year, Nikarusu? I did, mate. It was nice and quiet, and I hope you did as well. Logan says, hello there. Duke says, Ineos is 100% behind Amorim, and you're not getting rid of him anytime soon. You're stuck with him for the next 3 seasons. Buckle in, gents. Look, people have the prerogative to change their mind, right? Until Amorim can instill trust, and until Ineos can back this manager, and look, people can change their mind, right? If Ineos go out and buy players, if Amorim turns it around, sells Fernandez and becomes a proper coach, I'm allowed to be like, okay, let's give him a chance. But right now, I don't see the point. But you're right. Niche fan says he has to go. He's Ineos front man. To gaslight us all, Team U, Darren Brown, Ineos are laughing at us. It can't win any game. It's insanity. Riz says United fans need to boycott the matches. Home fans will never do it. The next manager will be a Glazer puppet, so nothing changes. Grace, exactly. I've been consistent, and I will say the same thing. If all the managers are going to do is basically do what the Glazers say, keep Amorim. You might as well keep him. I don't want him, but he is now Southgate. He is Southgate. He's playing the same football Southgate would play. We now have Southgate, Portuguese Southgate. Doesn't matter. Did Erik ten Hag apologise? No, he didn't. But I don't think. Well, look, whether or not, Grace, managers do, right, apologise, I think they should. I wasn't doing the channel then, and if I was, I would said Erik ten Hag should have apologised. These players should apologise. Just because Erik ten Hag didn't apologise and managers doesn't mean they shouldn't. I was working for the Wolves game. Glad I missed it, says Liam. Complete lack of nuance. Amorim has the intuition of a can opener. I said it before, JB, back in Wasakim. Exactly, Dino. I was never Amorim out, never until the Wolves game. I get we have a depleted squad, but we should still be beating Wolves. We won't get anyone in January window, and we'll continue to slide down the table. John, look, I've been saying this. There are two things that I'll say. When we had a full team, the results were the same. Amorim cannot use not having players available for the performances. If we were winning, and then the top 3, top 2, and then this happened, fair point. These players were here for Grimsby. These players were here for the Toffees. These players were here for Bournemouth. These players were here for West Ham. So, John, I don't accept having players away from the AFCON is the reason why we're crap. Joey's question, is it Ineos back him and want him at the club, or just cannot afford to sack him? I think it is a mixture of both. I don't think they can sack him. I don't think they can afford to sack him. And also, you need to bear this in mind. If they sack him, how are they going to convince another manager to come in and not have players? This is what I think, this is what's getting missed here, is that if Ruben gets sacked, right now I couldn't care less, another manager is going to want money. They've got to pay him off. No manager is going to want... Look, there is no top quality, world-class coach who is going to come into this side and work with these players. This is why they want to keep him. It's because nobody else is going to get a tune from his players. What do you think about Martin O'Neill taking over for the rest of the season with Keane as his assistant? Look, go after 7, mate. You could bring in a team of Allardyce, Kerbishley, Peter Reid. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because nobody is going to fix this side. Could they do it worse? No. Liam says, away fans will not boycott matches. Away fans support through thick and thin. You don't get away tickets unless you go almost every home game. Well done, JB. You might as well get Southgate in. At least they won't be trying to lie. Ineos are commenting. The Glazers are comment. Lads, it's okay. We don't need any players. We're winning the league. Ineos have changed absolutely nothing. United the best last season for me. Disagree. You're done because you're a mad ass. Get a grip with no divine right to win anything. The club is not the same. Austin, what the fuck are you talking about, you moron? What are you absolutely talking about, you absolutely flittermide? What are you talking about, you fucking moron? What are you talking about? You've clearly not watched the channel. Clearly not watched the channel before, because I keep talking about this. It is not about a divine right. I demand we win the Premier League every single season, and I demand we get into the Champions League, not because I think we're going to fucking win it, because you have to have standards. How can you have... You've got a bunch of players who are the biggest dog shit players that we've ever had. Why can't I demand we have the best in class players? Because what am I? Fucking Leeds? What am I? And look, and this is no disrespect. What am I? What am I? Like, am I Burnley? No. Like, it's nothing to do with getting a grip, you fucking moron. I demand this club is the biggest club in England. Factually, it is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Right? It's never, and I've never protested on this channel that we're ever going to get back to that era. I've said it several times. But I cannot have a manager who is not best in class anymore. This is a guy who can't win matches. His percentage is 39%, and I can put up with everything. I can put up with every single thing. But what I cannot put up with now, I cannot put up with the bullshit. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I've been with this manager through thick and thin. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. The Toffees match was diabolical. We should have sacked him then, but who comes in? I've no clue. CR7 says, hi man, how are you? I mean, the players we have available are crap. Even the ones on the bench, we need reinforcements in this window, and Amorim has been told there's no negotiation. It's true, John. To be honest, I'm still... And look, I am Amorim out for different reasons, right? I'm not Amorim out necessarily because of the way that we're playing, right? I would have backed him on the basis that he hasn't been given his players. He doesn't have a team. I get it. Right? I am not judging Amorim on that, because I've said so many times that I fully accept Amorim hasn't been backed. It's not fair. I'm Amorim out because he's turned into the Glazers. I am. How can you sit there and how can I respect a manager that basically says we can win any game under any situation and any context? It's fabrication. It shows a manager who is just hasn't got a clue. And I'm done. But look, I respect people who people are Amorim in or out for different reasons. I'm not typically Amorim out because of the results. I no longer trust him, not because of the results, because I know these players are awful. I don't trust him now because I think he's turned into the mouthpiece. Ineos are the same as the Glazers. Yes, they are. Man City rocks. I support Man City. There is such a disconnect from me. Amorim talks as though he understands all the issues. He's very articulate, but his football is... I can't even pronounce that word. Even congruous. I never heard that word, mate. To the way he tactically sets up. Mohammed says, shut the F up. Mohammed, that's not very nice. It's not very nice, Mohammed. Absolutely not very nice. Mohammed, like I say to my children, if you're going to use language the same as that, then you're going to be put onto the naughty step. So, Mohammed, just for that, you're going on a timeout. I'm going to put you on there for 30 minutes. So, Mohammed has been naughty. Mohammed has been disrespectful. So, I'm going to put Ahmed on the naughty step like a child. Up the Villa, says Adam. Hello, my friend. He's a puppet for the hierarchy, says Steve. Alpha Power says hello. But Amorim sounds like the average fan, well, at least fans online. Interesting opinion. I don't agree with what he says at all. I think what he said today is disgraceful. Not disgraceful in a typical sense, but I think he's a very, very deluded guy. I think the only thing that Amorim has is, I think the only thing that Amorim had was the truth. And he's now lost that ability to tell the truth. So he's now a Glazer puppet. Delighted watching the Reds downfall. Well deserved after all the cheating under Fergie, another fan from London. Ian Ring, mate. You don't know the channel, clearly, my friend. You don't know the channel. You don't know me. And I think that to say another United fan from London, I think it's a very, very unintelligent comment. It just goes to show the level of your intelligence. I don't really need to say anything more than that. Snow in Newcastle, Emlyn Nia Carmarthen. I pride myself on knowing. I pride myself on having a good vocabulary, but I've never heard that before, Liam. Never. But you learn things. What does shut the F up mean? Basically means that I need to be quiet. But sadly, you're never going to... being told to shut the F up basically means that they don't want you to pass your opinion across. Somebody telling me to shut the F up basically just wants me to... it's just going to basically provoke me to keep on talking. Sky Blue Army says, Steve, to Villa fans. So I'm not Amorim in or out. However, the structure is to be blamed for the running of the club. None of us can go into work and slag off the boss and not get sacked. Look, I get the point. I do get the point. But I think that when does your personal pride kick over? Because I get the money side of it, but I think Maresca has made Amorim look like a fool. Club game model does not align with Amorim's philosophy, so why not go to a manager that fits the game model? We can't afford them because we're billions of pounds in debt, says Austin. We ain't the best in class and wasn't when Sir Alex Ferguson started. Regardless of which the manager comes in, it's going to take years to rebuild. I do agree with you. United then very best. I used to be Job Sillit's paper boy. I hear you with Amorim, but who do you think they can sign? Ineos and the Glazer as overlords. Because look, what I'm going to say here in regards to Ineos, the Glazers, transfers, players, and the manager, it is a mess. This is Nice. One of the final things I'm going to say before I go, this is Nice. This is Nice all over again. This is Nice. This is Nice. This is a complete mess. And this is why when the Glazers sold part of the club, it needed to go to somebody that was really wanted to invest in this squad. This club is a mess from top to bottom. I don't know. We can't get rid of most of these players. We're not going to get rid of the Glazers. We're not going to get rid of Sir Jim. Amorim is probably going to stay into next season. Most of these players are going to stay because Ineos cannot admit that they've got it wrong. So this is one big giant mess that I think is probably worse. This is probably the worst situation we've ever been in. So look, don't expect it to get better soon. But look, the message from the conferences for me is that no new players are going to come in and the injuries are still the same. So look, let's see what happens on Sunday, because I don't know. But look, guys, I'm going to go. Let's have a little look. Noira Downfalls Stadium. Managers all years this season coming in. Amorim left 100% to now the club. To France news. 4 hours for me. Amorim standard is a standard manager. Chelsea needs a credit card cap. I do. So look, guys, I am going to go. Amorim, mate. Look. Amorim for me is we are winning on Sunday, peeps. Come on, please. Let's not be that club. Let's not be that club, because everybody in every stream, and look, I'm not criticizing people who come on here. Why? Look, I'm asking why. I've missed my chance to troll. Why are we winning on Sunday? Tell me, because I don't see that we are. How are we going to win on Sunday? What is different to Wolves? We've got the same team. We've got the same. Zach says hi. Hello, Zach. We've got the same players out. We've got the same players in. We were at home to Wolves. How are we going to win on Sunday? Make it make sense to me. Make it. Pete says, frauder him. Did you see the Newcastle win? Mate, Newcastle battered us. Look, you can't take a step back. You can't take a step back. Wolves was our last game. Newcastle, we were absolutely dog shit. Second half, we were dog shit. And yes, I watched the match. We are not going away to Leeds and winning. I'm not saying that we're going to lose. We're not winning at Leeds. That's all I'm saying. It's like the club we are purposely going backwards. You meant to invest in your team and build, but this is our club. look, just because this is our club, I'm not going to sit here and say we're good. Look, it pains me. It pains me to say that I don't think that we're going to go away and win. But that's where I'm at. So, guys, I'm going to go. Absolute fantastic show again. I won't be back tonight. I may be back tomorrow. But let's see what happens. Look, just don't believe the spin. But look, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the comments. This is going to be a very intense month. I do think it is. I think it's going to be a very, very intense month. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on certain things. Doesn't mean that I'm right. Doesn't mean you guys are wrong. It's just opinions. But look, let's see where we are on Sunday. So, look, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. You guys are legends. I hope that we win. I do. I hope so much that we win. I can't predict. I cannot predict the win, a loss. I don't know. So I will be back probably tomorrow. If not, I'll probably be back on Sunday. So look, guys, thank you for watching. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.